Arjuna vacha senayorubayor madhye ratyam skyapayame archuta yavanetan nirikseham yodu karmanavastitan. O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight, and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. Umajana Trimanandasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chakshun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born into the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual masters opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances under him. So, at this point, Arjuna, whose natural propensity is one of a warrior, so therefore in Vedic times, in that division of mankind is called the Kshatriyas. They're in charge of keeping law and order and administrating to the whole welfare of society in general, and to making sure the society is conducted in such a way that all the citizens are peaceful, and in their peacefulness they can pursue higher values. Not that they're simply struggling day and night to make a living and to put food on the table. So the whole battlefield is because the whole battle of Kurukshetra is being fought because the kingdom has been usurped. And at that point in time, this is 5,000 years ago, when the battle of Kurukshetra happened, at that time, the whole earth was under one administration, under one kingly rule. So there was great intrigue regarding the leadership of the world. The Pandavas were destined to lead the world. It was they were the rightful heirs, but due to political intrigue, Dhritarashtra has let his son Duryodhana enter into this fight to take over the position of leader of the world. And of course the Pandavas have to fight. So all the intrigue and all the setting of the scene is there in the Mahabharata. And Bhagavad-Gita is just a small portion of the presentation of Mahabharata, which is basically a history of that time of the world. But it's the heart of Mahabharata, because Lord Krishna was personally present on this planet 5,000 years ago. Now imagine that the Lord himself would descend and be on this planet, that he would take time out of his busy schedule of play, because actually, if you're God, you really got everything covered. You're so powerful, you're so opulent, and you have so many faithful and loving servants, you don't really have to do anything. That would really be the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, not only would it be, it is. And we can learn this from Vedic knowledge. And there's a great distinction between the knowledge that's coming down through the Vedas, which is descending from higher authority, and that knowledge that we have available in the normal course of activities here on the earth. Generally, all of our knowledge is simply arrived at through some use of our limited mental facilities. Now imagine if you were pure enough through your activities that you could have what would be considered revealed knowledge at every stage. Imagine if there was no question, if you had a pure enough mind and pure enough senses, that all knowledge came to you basically through revelation. So that's the position of the instructions that are coming through the Vedas. that all of the spiritual masters, all of the great thinkers are pure. And because of their pure hearts and their pure mind and their purified senses, not like our senses unfortunately become polluted because of lust. And because of lust, which is our desire to enjoy on the material platform, we become bewildered. And because of our bewilderment, we cannot see things as they are. But there is a transcendental platform of knowledge, which is our rightful inheritance. Because our true position is not of this material world. We're not these material bodies. We're not these minds. We're not these senses that are polluted. But as Krishna is going to reveal in Bhagavad-Gita, we're pure spirit soul of the same quality as He. Not the same quantity. God is unlimited. We're infinitesimal. But of the same quality. So, at this point in Bhagavad-Gita, we can actually see the relationship that one can have on the transcendental platform with transcendental senses with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The all-encompassing energy and source of all the energy that we experience. So Arjuna has such an intimate relationship with Krishna, who is God Himself. So here we can see that he has such an intimate relationship with Lord Krishna that he's actually ordering God around. Bring my chariot over here. I want to see what's going on. Now that's basically very difficult for us to comprehend, because we could imagine that if we were in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all energies, the source of our very selves, that entity who is our eternal Father, who we're just a single infinitesimal spiritual spark of, what would be our position? What would we do if we were in the presence of such a person? If we were in the presence of God? There was just a song that came out, I think, in the last year. What is it? I Can Only Imagine. It's like a country song. I can only imagine what I would do in the presence of the Lord. You know, would I fall down? Would I completely fall into ecstatic trance? Would I lose all composure? You know, would I even be able to look upon the Lord? So, Arjuna is an intimate associate of the Lord, and here we can see the spiritual relationship between Krishna and an unalloyed devotee. And that relationship is based upon prema. Prema is unadulterated love. So, within this world, we experience love to some extent, but generally the love in this world, it's all conditional. It's all based upon certain conditions. We put barriers between our love amongst one another and our love for certain, things in the world. And unfortunately, especially in this age, we can see that love is so conditional that even the good character that normally conducted affairs in household matters, even that good character between the husband and wife, that's also been thrown out the window. That a husband and wife cannot even stay together for their life. That when we get tired of one, then we jump to the next, and the next, and the next. So we're just not finding satisfaction. Now, there's a natural inherent reason for that. Because there is no one on the material platform who can perfectly reciprocate with our true loving spirit. Such reciprocation and loving exchange is only available in the spiritual realm. It's only available when we're able to put aside all of our selfish desires and love purely, with purified senses and a purified heart, which are not influenced by material nature. Now, naturally, we're here and we can see that we're totally influenced by material nature. First of all, there's the three modes of material nature. And that we're either conducted by one of those modes or the other, or a mixture of those modes at every moment. There's the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance. And those modes are pulling on us. So we're riding in the chariot of this body, and at every time the senses are pulling us here and there. Oh, there's something to eat. Oh, there I can make some money. Oh, here I can enjoy some sex life. Here I can eat a great meal. Here. And it just doesn't end. At every minute our senses are dragging us. And therefore there's the whole practice of yoga. What does this mean, yoga? Yoga means to bind up. To bind up with what? To bind up with our true spiritual nature. And what's the first practices of yoga teach us? Pull the senses back. Get control of them. Don't let them drag you around. You control the senses. So all the great sages and all the great saints, since time immemorial, first concentrate on this preliminary stage of spiritual life, of existence, of self-awareness, of self-realization. In order to experience anything on the spiritual platform, we can't be drugged around by our senses. And that's a choice that we have to make. So, if we want to advance ourselves in this life, which is really the purpose of this life, otherwise, might as well be a cat or a dog, a hog, a tiger, a tree. They can enjoy so much, the senses. If we're really in, like, to eat meat, a tiger can eat meat a lot better than we can. They can kill their prey in an instant. A lion, So if we look at all the different bodies that are available within this material energy, there's 8,400,000 different species of life. So of that 8,400,000, only 400,000 are human forms. And only in the human form of life can one inquire, Atato Brahma Jignasa. Where did I come from? What am I doing here? What's it all about? And what should I do? How should I conduct myself? And why are so many things forced upon me that I don't want? I have no choice in the matter. And if we study and we look at the whole yoga practice, we look at all the different disciplines of yoga and all the different schools of yogic thought, all those disciplines and all that information comes to us and tells us you should be able to make the choices that affect your existence. You should be able to determine where you're going to be born, what body you're going to have. You should be able to control things. You should be able to control your environment. You should not be simply fluttering around like a leaf, being blown from one extreme to the other. So that's why the yogis stress so much control of the mind and senses. And we're going to find as we study more and more Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna in Bhagavad-Gita, which is the foundation of self-realization. This is the starting point. This is the launching pad for our inquiries and true knowledge being given to us as to how we can make this human life successful. We have a very rare opportunity in the human form of life, and we should take advantage of that opportunity. We should not simply squander this life away and not use the opportunities that are afforded by instruction from higher authority. So, Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna himself, the Lord himself, has actually taken a subordinate position to Arjuna, and he's driving the chariot. And right at this point in the first chapter, he's got his bow, he's got his arrows, he's ready to go to war. And then all of a sudden, actually, this is the whole key to Bhagavad-Gita. Arjuna is a pure devotee of the Lord. And he knows everything just because of his position. But sometimes there's a saying, you teach the daughter-in-law by teaching the daughter. Is that right? So, generally in a familial situation, you don't want to really come unto the daughter-in-law and say, listen, you want to take care of my boy, you got to do it this way. So you may chastise, the mother may chastise the daughter simply to give instruction to the daughter-in-law. So similarly, Krishna is taking the opportunity to give instruction to all mankind by bewildering Arjuna, who's his pure devotee. Now, anybody that's fully surrendered to Krishna, anybody that's given up desires to enjoy independent of Krishna, to enjoy on the transcendental platform, which means that we have to become subservient to a higher goal, to a higher purpose. So anybody that's actually taken that to the nth degree and who has attained prema, or a stage of unalloyed transcendental love on the spiritual platform, they're in full knowledge. So, at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna is a pure devotee, but Krishna personally bewilders him. So all of a sudden he's saying, wait a minute, maybe I don't want to fight here. There's my cousins, my brothers, here's my teachers, and really, you want this is a battle. Maybe we should think about this before we go onto this field, and I should start slaughtering all of my family just because they want to have the kingdom. And we'll see pretty soon Arjuna's going to give all these justifications as to why I can't fight. You know what? Better I don't fight. Let them slaughter me. Better I die than to engage in this battle. Now, unfortunately for Arjuna, first of all, it's not his nature. It's his responsibility to be an administrator. He isn't a Kshatriya. He has a responsibility. Imagine, it's hard for us to imagine in this society, but at this point in time, 5,000 years ago, leadership of the world under one kingly ruler, that kingly ruler was completely and totally responsible for the well-being and for the upliftment of all of society. So much so that last week there's a cold spell. All these people were, people died in this, freezing cold coming down from the north. Imagine, in this period of time, 5,000 years ago, the citizens would have been in an uproar. They would have gone to the king and say, why are we having to experience this? Because then, the kingly order, they performed so many sacrifices, and they were so much in tune with spiritual nature, which controls all of the material nature. They were so in touch with that higher energy which controls everything, and they were so tuned into the proper way to perform sacrifice, charity, austerity, and mercy. They were so tuned in that they made sure that even incumbent weather was put aside. Just imagine. Hard to imagine. Impossible to imagine. Imagine us going to the White House and having a protest. They get rid of the cold weather. Can you imagine that? But that's truly the state of affairs at that time. So, this position of Krishna putting Arjuna into bewilderment simply so we can hear from Krishna about spiritual life is extremely significant. And Krishna is doing this through his pure devotee, Arjuna, and bewildering him. Because under normal circumstances, Arjuna would not be bewildered as to his duty. Any questions so far?
Page 31 is succession. Let's say the last one was number 32. Did he get the transcendental law from the number 31 or directly from the number 1?
31.
Basically, yes. Well, there's also gaps in this, because this is going back all the way to Krishna, to Brahma. And, I mean, you have to understand, time-wise, Brahma lives 100 years according to his time. Well, his one day, Brahma's the creator of the universe. So, his one day consists of 1,000 ages. Okay, 1,000 ages is 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas in earthly years. This is Kali Yuga. This is the shortest of those 4 yugas. This Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. Okay, 432,000 for one Kali Yuga. There's 4 yugas. 4 times that 432,000, 17,028. 1,700,000 and some odd thousand Earth years is Satya Yuga, which is the longest age. So there's a lot when you look at it in our time. So to look at this list, there's a lot of. This is the most prominent spiritual masters in the line of disciplic succession. But of course, starting most recently from number 22, Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya invented in India. He's actually again Krishna, but Krishna coming as a devotee. So 500 years ago in India, Lord Chaitanya basically came and gave us a very, very extraordinary gift. And that gift is only given once in a day of Brahma. Again, one day of Brahma, 1,000 cycles, 4 yugas, 14 manus who are in charge of 71 cycles of yugas each. And then we look at this, and I'm saying all this stuff, and you're going, and naturally we're going to say, what is all this? How can this be? How can a system of knowledge be there where all this detail is there regarding this material universe, the years, Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, the expansions from Krishna, his immediate expansion, Baladev, Sankirtan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. That is descending knowledge. That's the revelation available through the purification of our mind and senses. And it's coming down in disciplic succession purely from one realized master to another. Krishna explains in Bhagavad-Gita, what is it, 434? I instructed this imperishable science to the sun god Vivashwan. Vivashwan passed it on to Isvaku, and to Manu. But in the course of time, it's been lost. So, this transcendental Vedic knowledge is coming directly from Krishna And it's here for the upliftment of everybody who's become bewildered and fallen under the influence of Krishna's external energy. So the spiritual energy is basically divided into three major divisions. There's Krishna and his internal potency. There's this external energy, which is the material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And there's us. We're that infinitesimal spiritual spark who, due to misuse of independence, falls under the sway of the material energy, the external potency. Now, how do we fall under the sway of the external potency? Well, because, first of all, we're part and parcel of Krishna. We're truly spiritual energy in the ultimate. But on the spiritual platform, everything is based on prema, on love. But there's no love without independence. So we have our Krishna, the Supreme Lord. He's unlimitedly independent because he's God. All energies are coming from him. We're infinitesimal, and we have a very limited independence. We can either choose to use our independence on the spiritual platform and engage in devotional service to Krishna, or we can say, it'd be nice if I was God. So, okay. Krishna's so kind. Oh, you want to be God? Okay. Here. You can have this whole arrangement. Now, you can't really be with me because I'm God. And as long as you want to be God, you're not going to be able to live where I'm at because I'll be interfering with your independent free will to be God. So here, let me give you your own playground. But in this playground, although 14 divisions of planetary systems, we're in the middle planetary system. There's heavenly planets that we couldn't even imagine. In a heavenly planet, right here, what do we live, 100 years? Heavenly planets, you live for 100,000 years in one body. Imagine that. One body. No birth, no death, no old age, and no disease for 1,000 years. Perfect mystic opulences and cities. You could make your own planet. You can go anywhere and everywhere simply at your own desire. That's the heavenly planets. And then there's hellish planets where there's no sun. Imagine that. No sun. The only light in the planet is the light on the head of the serpent that's coming to consume you. And instead of an ocean of salt water like we have, it's an ocean of poison. Vedic knowledge descending from the transcendental realm, of which Bhagavad-Gita is the introductory course, contains all knowledge, both spiritual and material. There's nothing. Once we've read Bhagavad-Gita, you can go on to Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the essence of the Vedanta Sutra, the cream of the Vedanta Sutra. The Vedanta Sutra is the cream of the relationship of all the Vedas. So then you have all the Upanishads and all the Puranas. All this knowledge is descending through this pure chain of disciplic succession to give us information, which is pure and unadulterated. And we've already touched upon what does that mean, pure and unadulterated. We don't have to look far. Even in the short course of 2,000 years, we can see what happens when mankind wants to take what is pure knowledge, spiritual knowledge, from somebody that's a pure entity, Lord Jesus, and what have they done in 2,000 years? How many fractions and how many diversions are there just in the teachings of one saint? Of somebody that's truly pure. Lord Jesus is technically, you'd say, well, isn't he God? Yes, he is God. He's God, but technically, he's God because he has no desire independent of God. But he is not Krishna. He's considered a Sattvic avatar. From our perspective, and this is why Jesus said, except through me you can't go to the Father, to his disciples. From our perspective, from our fallen position, he's the same as God because the knowledge he can give us and what he can provide for us is non-different from Krishna himself, from the Lord, no matter what name you want to give him. Allah, Jehovah, it doesn't matter. Krishna explained, Lord Chaitanya gave us a verse, oh my Lord, you have hundreds and thousands of names, and in these names you invested all your transcendental potency. Unfortunately I have no attraction for them. So there's so many names for Krishna, for God, And all those different names basically explain different aspects of his transcendental nature. Like Govinda. Govinda is one of the names for Krishna, for God. What's Govinda mean? Govinda, go is the cow. Go is the Brahmins. Go is the earth. The person that gives pleasure, and go is our senses. So these are all Sanskrit words and understandings of that term, go. Vinda gives pleasure to. So if you really look, who actually is giving us pleasure, even on the material platform? Govinda. All of our senses are satisfied. We can't satisfy our own senses. We don't make the food that we eat. We don't make the air we breathe. We don't make the sounds that we hear. We don't even make the senses that perceive all these things that give us enjoyment in the material world. So who's providing all these things? Govinda. And another name for Krishna in the battlefield is Parthasarthi, the chariot driver of Arjuna. And we could go on and we could be here for days just chanting the different names for the Supreme Lord. So basically this disciplic succession is handing down pure knowledge. Pure knowledge in that everyone in the disciplic succession is a self-realized soul. And to us, self-realization means that we are no longer under the influence of the external energy. Yes?
Something about this.
Sure.
There's an example of disciplic succession. It's like if he holds his hand and if everyone here holds hands, it's like going up the list, right? And then everyone holds his hand, and then if he sticks his fingers in a light socket, that energy is going to travel from him to me to you to her, and we're all going to benefit. So it's just like that. The spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada, he's the person that wrote this Gita, and my husband's been initiated by him. And then his spiritual master is Bhaktisiddhanta. So all of these, the knowledge is coming down just like that electricity. So it's the same knowledge that's coming directly from Krishna, just like it's the energy that's coming through the light socket. It's just because these people are transparent via media, that energy doesn't shift or change or morph. It remains pure. So everyone.
So if you say you will say a sentence to her, and then you will say it to me, and if you listen to him, the sentence is not the same as what
exactly.
you said.
That's what happens.
That's what I thought.
That's what happens when the senses are not purified.
But we can all We may not have purified senses, but we can still repeat purely as best as we can, and everything is based on sankalpa, on intent. So as long as I'm just repeating what I've heard from my spiritual master, and my intent is not one of exploitation, or I want people to worship me, or I want to be a guru, no. But if my intent is, because that's my responsibility, I have a responsibility because I've been given knowledge. So if you're giving something very valuable, you want to pass it on. But if you want to pass it on for your own purpose, instead of passing it on for the purpose of your master, of your spiritual master, then it becomes polluted. Even A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, he never, you'll notice as you read all the books, you notice he'll never take credit. All the credit goes to his spiritual master. All the way back to who gets the most credit, Krishna. Because ultimately, he's providing this whole arrangement for our spiritual upliftment. All we have to do is take advantage. And we should want to take advantage. If we look around at our circumstances, they're not real good. Especially now in Kali Yuga, at this point in time, in this age of mankind. And I mean, what could be said? You know, you may think, if you really look at your life and your situation, we're being battered and thrown around by the laws of material nature at every stage. We have no control over it. But if we can take shelter of someone who has control, then we're protected.
What's on page 29 of
the introduction? Of what?
Yeah.
The Ganges.
Water of the Ganges. What is it?
One who drinks the water of the Ganges attains salvation. So what to speak of one who drinks the nectar of Bhagavad-Gita? Bhagavad-Gita is the essential nectar of the Mahabharata, and it is spoken by Lord Krishna himself. Basically, the Ganges water, the Ganges, as you know, on this planet, runs through India.
It's a river in India.
It's an animal.
Yes.
Because I didn't find it in the dictionary.
Ganges runs through India, but its significance is it actually runs throughout the universe. And there's a whole story as to how the Ganges came into being. But it's actually coming down from the spiritual realm. And actually, Krishna, in one of his other incarnations, because Krishna comes in so many incarnations to try to uplift everyone in every species. But in one incarnation, he came as a young Brahmin, a spiritual person, and naturally, at that point in time, everyone gave freely to the Brahmin class. In other words, you'd naturally want to support the saints and the sages of the planet. So when you saw one, they didn't have a job. So you would automatically give them alms so that they could live comfortably. And especially the kings, the leaders of the world, they gave them all facility. Anyway, this one king was there, and the Lord went to him as a young Brahmin boy, and he said, and this king was very charitably disposed, but he had a bad minister. But that's a whole other story. But he asked the Lord, the Brahmin, who was actually Krishna himself. His name in that incarnation is Vamanadev. He said, "What can I give you?" And he said, "Oh, I don't need much. How about just you give me 3 steps of land?" So it's a little boy. He said, "Please, I got to give you more than that." "No, that's all I want." So his minister's there. "Wait, don't do this. This is God. Don't offer him just 3 steps of land. Be very careful. You know, he's going to take everything away from you. You know this is God. God takes everything away." And a lot of people look at God that way. Instead of looking to the fact that he gives everything, well, he's always taking. A lot of people just look at that aspect. You know, well, generally when Krishna takes something away from it, it's for our own well-being. But, you know, even at the end of life, when he takes this body and we have to throw a body away, you know, that's not even ours. We're just a tenant in the body. We didn't make the body. We don't feed the body. Nothing that the body experiences did the body create. We're like a tenant in an apartment. We're a tenant in an apartment that we didn't even build. Now, when the landlord says it's time to get out, we should move freely on. And if self-realization means getting to that stage where we can say, yeah, fine, I'll move on. Where do you want me to go next? Otherwise, we're saying, wait a minute, and we're holding on with all our might. Oh no, I'm dying. My body's being taken away. Wait, you're not the apartment. You're simply living in the apartment. And really, at that stage, generally, unless it's an untimely death, we should want to move on. It's starting to rot, fall apart, break down. Hard to imagine if you're young, but it gets older and it gets...
The plumbing wears
out. So anyway, his spiritual master, Sukracharya, said, no, don't give this boy what he's asking. And Bali Maharaj said, well, I have to give him whatever he wants. He's a Brahmin boy. So he gives him his 3 steps of land. Vamana immediately expands his body. He's God. He's not limited like we are. He has a spiritual body, not like our material body. He's the source of all energies. He's not controlled by his energies. So he expanded his body and took one step. And what was the first step? I forget. Anyway, what he did is he stepped so far that his foot went through the whole of the universe. Now basically there's coverings of the universe, and those coverings are the material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And all of those layers are 10 times deeper than the other. As you go out of the material world, you go through all these elements, just like these elements make up our body. So anyway, he punched a hole, and water came through, because all the universes are in the the Kiradakshai Vishnu, Kiradak ocean, which is basically the perspiration of the Lord. Anyway, it's a whole thing. But anyway, one of the manifestations of God, where he lays down and all the universes come from his pores. Anyway, broke through the universe, the water came through. That water is the Ganges water. And because that water touched the toe of Vishnu, of God, it's purified. So in India, they're always taking bath in the Ganges. And the Ganges cannot be polluted by anything on the material plane. So that's why it says here, one who drinks the Ganges water attains salvation. It's that potent.
So he was the commander of Duryodhana?
Right.
He's in this team, I would say.
Yes.
The team of the
Pandavas?
No,
he's Dhritarashtra.
Kauravas, yes.
Right.
But he was the teacher
of all of them. Yes.
Before.
Yes. Yes. He was Arjuna's teacher. But here again, due to political intrigue, he's also a devotee, But due to political intrigue, he was on the wrong side in the battle. And that will all be revealed the more we study Bhagavad-Gita, Mahabharata. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the main reasons. One of the reasons was Arjuna was, I don't want to fight. You want me to kill my teacher? Mm-hmm. Imagine Dronacharya actually gave Arjuna all of his military skills. He learned everything about fighting from Dronacharya.
And Sanjaya was the secretary of Dhritarashtra.
Right. And Sanjaya is
Send him to check the...
Well, actually, he didn't have to go anywhere. This is 5,000 years ago, and he had mystic opulence. So, just like we sit in our house and we can watch TV and we can watch, a game played down in, Miami. Well, he could sit in and just see what was happening on the battlefield, even though he's sitting in the castle, in the kingdom.
And Dhritarashtra was not able to do it?
Dhritarashtra was the king, but he's blind.
He was blind,
yes, from birth. So he wants his son to take over. You'd really love Mahabharata. You know, that sets the whole scene.
It's time because all the names you don't remember them, and they look similar to. If it starts with a D, you think it's the same.
Well, yeah.
Yes,
I've been studying. I also study Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam is presented in 12 cantos. Now, 12 cantos. Let's see, what is there? 18,000 verses? No, 1,800 verses in Bhagavad-Gita. 1,800. There's, no, it's not 1,800, 1,600. There's 18,000 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, presented in 12 cantos. 12 cantos. Each canto has chapters within it. So, and that gives...
Just many books.
Yeah, it's a whole... And that has even more. And then you have the Mahabharata and all the poor, and then you have the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The names, yes, there's plenty of names. But we only have to rename, if we really want to, all we have to do is remember 3 names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just the 3 names. Hari, which is the energy of Krishna, also referencing to, his eternal consort, Radharani. Krishna is the most attractive. That's what the name Krishna means. And Rama. Rama can either mean Lord Rama, Ramachandra, who's another incarnation of Krishna, or Balaram, Krishna's brother. They're all God.
But first, to understand the book as a story, I will say that you wanted to.
Yes, you'll notice when we get past the first chapter, the story will go away.
And then
from there, Krishna is going to. Right, Krishna is going to give Arjuna, and through Arjuna us, very detailed instructions, starting with, Dehi nosmin yata dehi kamaram javanam jara. Never was there a time when you did not exist, nor I, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Martra sparsastu kaunteya sitosna dukadukada. Okay? As we go in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly the soul passes into another body at death. First, Krishna is going to convince Arjuna, don't worry about this battle. We're all spirit soul. It's kind of hard, And it's amazing when you really look at how Krishna presents the knowledge of spirit soul and transcendental information to Arjuna. It's done on a battlefield. Any other questions? Archie's made some nice refreshments for us, as always. Thank you so much for coming. And you're free to take the Bhagavad-Gitas if you want. Take them, study them. Please come every week if you can, or any week that you can. Every week's good. Anytime that you feel like it, come. If you want to give a donation just to cover publishing costs, that's good. It's only $5. If you don't, it doesn't matter. I want you to take the book and read it. Bhagavad-Gita is something that we should devote time to for the rest of our life. And if we do that, Just take up a daily regimen. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's non-different from the source of all energy. This book is absolute transcendental knowledge. There's no difference between this Bhagavad-Gita and talking to Krishna face to face. Now, right now, because we're not purified, we can't ask Krishna to move our chariot here and there. What to speak about asking God to appear before us and give us this or that information. But He's making Himself available through this transcendental literature. So when you sit down and you read Bhagavad-Gita, you're actually in communion with Krishna, in communion with God. No difference, non-different. And the more we put ourselves in the fire of Krishna consciousness, the more we avail ourselves of Krishna's transcendental potency through chanting His name and reading Bhagavad-Gita, the more we'll become spiritualized. And the more we'll be free of the anxieties of material existence. It's an absolute fact.
I used to say, don't be attached, but on one side, if you are a devotee, you are attached.
I don't understand.
So is it normal? I mean, is it still attachment or non-attachment?
We're attached. We're attached to everything in relationship with Krishna. And we're detached from anything that's not in relationship with Krishna. Now, if you look at it, well, there's nothing that's not attached to Krishna because it's all His energy. So, you could say we're attached to everything, but only in as much as it helps us ultimately recognize His personality. Because the more we learn about transcendental knowledge, the more we're going to learn about Krishna's unlimitedly blissful existence. And the more we learn about that spiritual relationship or rasa, taste of spiritual life on the transcendental platform, the more the taste for these things and this material platform is going to fall away. And everything that we enjoy here is not real. Why? Because it's not Satchidananda. It's not eternal. It's not full of knowledge. It's not full of bliss. But if everything that we see in this planet, everything that we come into contact, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yat karoshi yarashnasi yas jahoshi dadasi yat. All that you do, all that you see, all that you offer and give away should be done as an offering unto me. You know. In that way, you'll become completely purified. That doesn't mean that we're just, we're walking around, like crazy people, just seeing God everywhere. But there is a platform where you actually will notice that people become that enwrapped in God consciousness. It's not something that can be imitated. But specifically, as we graduate from Bhagavad Gita, which is preliminary study, and learn about Krishna and His eternal associates, they are so madly in love with Krishna, and they're enjoying in such a reciprocal, transcendental relationship and ecstasy with Him. They're like mad people. And you see that actually, you can see a perverted reflection of that even on this plane. If somebody becomes so mad after somebody else that they put diapers on and drive hundreds of miles and try to kill the competitor. On the transcendental platform, the land of Krishna, Vrajabhumi, is saturated with one of the main characteristics of transcendental love, which is unending humility. Everybody there wants to see everyone else with Krishna. How can I help you be with Krishna? And in that way, that brings them the highest pleasure. Not conceivable. On this platform, it's all me, me, me. Imagine living in an environment with everybody where it's you, you, you.